Welcome to a meeting of the Board of Education of Somerset Hills. Please be advised that this and all meetings of the board are open to the public and media consistent with the Open Public Meetings Act, and that advance notice required therein has been provided. This is a meeting of the Board of Education of Somerset Hills at which formal action may be taken. The public will have an opportunity to be heard as shown on the agenda. Mr. Markle, roll call, please.
Mr. Baker?
Here.
Ms. Cooper?
Here.
Mrs. D. Grandpre?
Here.
Ms. Gills? Mr. Joyce?
Here.
Ms. Nathans?
Here.
Mrs. Santoro?
Here.
Mrs. Tober?
Here.
Mrs. Rye?
Here.
And Mrs. Frenda.
Here. Okay, executive session. The Open Public Meetings Act authorizes a public body to exclude the public from that portion of a meeting at which specified topics are to be discussed under circumstances where the public consideration of such topics will clearly endanger the public or where the personal privacy or guaranteed rights of individuals whose activities or affairs are to be discussed would be clearly in danger of unwarranted invasions and the matters about to be presented for discussion clearly meet the circumstances test. Of such, the Board of Education of Somerset Hills now adjourns its public session to reconvene an executive session for the purpose of discussing the following: personnel, student matters, contracts, negotiations, and litigation. Can I get a motion to go into executive session, please? Mr. Grandpre, and a second? Ms. Cooper. Thank you. Okay, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We've just come out of executive session. If I can ask you to rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Ms. DeMarco, roll call, please.
Mr. Baker?
Here.
Ms. Cooper? Here. Mrs. D. Grandpre?
Here.
Ms. Gills?
Here.
Mr. Joyce?
Here.
Ms. Nathans?
Here.
Mrs. Santoro?
Here.
Mrs. Tober?
Here.
Mrs. Rye?
Here.
And Mrs. Frenda.
Here, thank you. So we will waste no time with an extraordinarily packed house, and I will hand it over to Dr. Brochel to begin his report of the superintendent.
Thank you, Ms. Frenda. As is our custom, the first item on the agenda are our student reports, and we're going to start off with reports from the middle school, and I'm going to call up Gabby Paterno and Laith Davis. Gabby's first.
Good evening. My name is Gabby Paterno, and I'm an 8th grader at BMS. I am a member of the girls' basketball team at the middle school. The coaches of the team are Coach O'Connor and Coach Brown. As of right now, we have won 3 games. The whole team has played aggressively, and we all work together well. With all the hard work that we have at practice, I can say that our Burnsville girls middle school basketball team will do amazing for the rest of the season. As an 8th grader, I am also a peer leader. We recently organized an activity called the Gratitude Quest with 5 different stations to practice gratitude. All students at BMS visited this quest during their social studies classes. The activity was hosted the week after we came back from Thanksgiving break. Peer leaders are also planning a couple of activities with the 5th graders, such as reading and leading a game with them during their lunch. As we prepare for the holidays, students and peer leaders in Culture Climate have created a Spirit Week coming up during the week before winter break. Students and teachers are asked to do things like wear blue to reflect Hanukkah, wear festive sweaters, and wear our school colors. Students should look for flyers hung around the school and postings in Google Classroom. December has been a month for concerts. Our BMS chorus recently performed along with our high school chorus members at the Winter Choral Concert entitled Voices United. Voices United hosted at the BHS Performing Arts Center. For the past 3 months, Mr. Sands was working very hard to teach us the songs and organize everything for the next concert. Last night, the BMS band members led by Mr. Snyder and the BHS band members also performed at BHS for the winter concert. Now we'll turn it over to Laith Davis.
Good evening. I'm Laith Davis, and I'm also an 8th grader at BMS. I play for the boys basketball team. The boys basketball team has 2 amazing coaches who are Coach Reed and Coach Malik. Coach Reed works at the elementary school, but comes to the middle school to coach us. Coach Malik is one of our gym teachers, and he's very good at coaching and being a gym teacher. The team is very lucky to have great coaching this year. Our whole team has never given up, even though we have not earned our first win yet. But the games have been really close and come down to a final shot to tie or win the game. Our next game is tomorrow at home against Long Valley. On December 5th, all of the 8th graders had an assembly about VOTEC. VOTEC is a high school where they teach you how to become a plumber, actor, dancer, and more. It is in the Somerset Hills School District, and students can go part-time or full-time at high school. If students go part-time, they would go to Bernard's High for half of the day and VOTEC for the rest of the day. VOTEC is a great school if you want to find a job right after high school. And you would also have the credit of graduating high school and have the credentials to get a job like a plumber, gardener, engineer, and more. The 8th graders enjoyed hearing this about the opportunity, and many are interested. BMS students participate in community service in many ways. Some students donate things to charity, and others go and help out at different locations to gain community service hours. This December, 5th and 6th graders had the opportunity to participate in a pajama drive, where 86 pairs of pajamas were donated. All participating students can then take part in Pajama Day this Friday. Student Council is running a fundraiser in the cafeteria this week during each lunch, where the student council members can sell candy canes to raise money for the Hugs for Brady. The charity raises money to help kids with cancer. As of Tuesday afternoon, $360 was collected. Sales end on this Friday the 15th. We encourage all students to participate. Thank you for listening.
Gabby and Laith, thank you very much. I know it's not easy to get up here and do that, so you guys are great, so both of you. Up next at the high school, we have Gabby and Madison back for our monthly engagement.
Good evening. I'm Madison Ferrugia, your student representative for Bernards High School. I also usually present alongside with our other representative, Gabby Denicola, and she wishes she could make it, but she is unable to be here tonight, so I will be providing the entirety of the student update for BHS. The high school has just finished up our fall sports season with some huge accomplishments from our sports teams. We covered the end of most of the fall sports at the November meeting, but since then, the boys cross country team has also sent a team to the Nike Cross Country Nationals. Some of BHS's winter sports have also started games, with boys and girls basketball having several scrimmages already. The winter track team has also had an exciting week, with their first meet happening on Monday night, where the majority of our runners PR'd at the meet. The clubs and activities have also continued doing amazing things this November and December. The NHS induction took place at the end of November, where the seniors who took part were inducted into the National Honor Society officially. The junior class is hosting a movie night fundraiser this Thursday, during which students and attendees will be watching the Polar Express. There will be baked goods and refreshments, and anyone attending is encouraged to wear festive pajamas. The sophomore class is also running an angel tree at BHS, where community members can pick a child up off the tree and purchase Christmas gifts for those who need a little extra assistance and kindness this holiday season. Peer leaders also held their wildly successful dodgeball tournament, which attracted a large portion of the student body and raised significant funding. The Garden Club, a new club this year at BHS, has also started strong and released a line of clothing items for members and other students to purchase and fundraise. The Garden Club has also successfully purchased, taken care of, and distributed plants of a variety of species to each classroom throughout BHS. On the topic of new clubs, there was also the addition of the BHS Film and Movie Club, which was just approved this month. Film and Movie Club is ran for students to watch and study important films, eventually putting together films of their own at the end of the school year. The Green Team at BHS has begun their recycling challenge, where students are instructed to recycle items in the reciprocal design for their class. This is then weighed and totaled at the end of each week, and the grade whom has recycled the most throughout the competition wins. The music department has also been busy throughout BHS, where the Madrigals have sang in a wide variety of locations. They headed to Carnegie Hall recently and the Hospice Center just this morning to spread some holiday cheer. Both the chorus and the band have concerts coming up at the end of December, so watch out for those and make sure to attend. Key Club has announced their day of service, which is to happen on January the 5th. The Key Club members are going to a food bank in Hillside. They will be boxing food packages for those in need, and those going are bringing canned goods. They plan to bring approximately 60 students who are all going to donate their time to this amazing cause. Flutterflies has also began meetings at BHS. Flutterflies is a new club it started a while ago but was brought back for this school year. And it is dedicated to helping childhood cancer patients. They're partnering with the St. Baldrick's organization on March the 8th. St. Baldrick's is an organization that raises funds to support the most promising research to find cures for childhood cancer. The Flutterflies Club is asking community members to shave their heads for this cause, and it is greatly encouraged to participate or help in any way possible. Anyone interested can reach out to Andalora Parente, who is spearheading this, or Mrs. O'Brien, who's the faculty member overseeing it. The Crimson has also just released its second print copy of the BHS newspaper. This features articles on new community happenings and issues, as well as students covering things that are happening on a national and global scale. The third issue of the paper is coming out at the end of December, so make sure to be on the lookout for that. The print copy of the paper can be found in various places stationed throughout BHS, or there is a digital version available at bhscrimson.com or on the Student News Sources app. I personally am in the process of publishing an article about the drug and alcohol policies that are in place throughout the schools in the Crimson, which will be available for access in the online and print issues later this week or next. With review, recent occurrences, and new things constantly being brought to light with relating policies, I again just want to stress the importance of thinking about these changes in policies, and any changes in policies for that matter, from the students' perspectives. Your students are the people that these policies affect, and these things greatly impact their lives in ways that may not be obvious from the start, and we are more than willing to help and give feedback in any way that may be deemed beneficial. Lastly, as seniors ourselves, Gabby and I wanted to bring to light the early decision release date, which is December the 15th. This Friday, a large portion of the students who have submitted binding early decision college applications will receive decisions from their schools determining the next several years of their learning experiences. This is a very stressful time for these students, though it might not be something on everyone's radar, so just make sure to check in with those students and give them a little extra support if needed. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the high school for their report tonight, and I think one item in particular that resonated with me personally was the concept of student voice regarding any policies that the board does adopt, and certainly we have a policy committee on the board, and for those of you that aren't aware, one of the primary functions of a Board of Education is to consider, draft, adopt, and reconsider policy. They're what we call a policy-making body, and the concept of including student voice is such an important piece there, and that was not lost on me, and certainly we want to be able to really nail policies that are well balanced and look at the student experience in addition to a host of other areas that go into some of our policy work too. So that was a great takeaway for me and a great reminder for me, and I appreciate it very much. We're going to transition to recognize one of the groups that was highlighted in the student report, and that is the boys cross-country team at Bernards High School. They did some great work this year, and I'm going to borrow some nuggets from the Crimson itself to kind of help capture how great the season was. Certainly, our team of journalists at the high school continue to do great work. This year, Coach Stozak's 23 campaign certainly started off strong, and they didn't turn back. They didn't look back, and they kept moving forward. And certainly, they had a long season, and there were some challenges in there, but they earned a lot in the end. This is a team sport, and the history in Bernards is vast and far-reaching. The boys team has won the Meet of Champions 3 times, and that's a difficult feat in itself, 1981, 82, and 85. The girls as well have had success. They won in 82. The boys have won at the state group level 23 titles. That's a lot of anything. 23 is a lot of anything. And you won 23 championships, and that's amazing. They won 14 in a row from 1974 to 1987. Geographically, our area here is adorned with hills, and certainly there are some prominent running areas nearby. Any way you go, the high school results in thousands of feet climbed in their training and in their practices, and having the landscape that we have with all the hills only makes them quicker when they're running on a flat surface and on a flat course or a flatter course. So there's, we certainly have the great fortune living and working where we do, and certainly we've had some incredible runners come through our program, including this year's state winners. Coach Sozak talked about the importance of culture on the team. And the old guys teach the young guys how to be leaders and how to train and how to focus on diet and goal setting, and certainly becoming that next generation of leaders as well. And certainly Coach Sozak has a lot to do with that, but the young men that were on the team this year benefited from the young men that came before. And that's part of an important piece of culture inside of the cross-country team. Certainly cross-country is a team sport. We've talked on a few occasions, not only in this room at our meetings, but also in the media. We have a local celebrity here in Brody Watt, who I assume is not completed with his running career, given that he's a sophomore, but he won the Group 2 state championship this year. Which is extraordinarily difficult to do in any sport. So congratulations there. Tonight, the Somerset Hills Board of Education does indeed congratulate the entire boys cross-country team by winning the 2023 NJSIAA Group 2 North 2 Sectional Championship. I'm going to invite the coaching staff to be called and to receive their official proclamations from the board. And these proclamations will be memorialized in the permanent minutes of the Somerset Hills Board of Education for all time to come. So I'm going to call you up, and we have your proclamations, your resolutions, and certainly for the young men here that are on the team, you all accomplished a great deal, and we are certainly very proud of you, and we're proud that we have the opportunity to stop and to pause our work and to say congratulations. Our first resolution goes to Coach Sozak. Alyssa Sampson. Aiden Orienta. Griffin Austenberg. Soren Austenberg. Benjamin Balian. I don't believe Tommaso Biella is able to be with us tonight, but he certainly was on the team and gets a certificate. Congratulations, Tommaso. Cameron Bong. Julian Bonk. Preston Chen. Ben Connell. Dean Connell. Milo Consola Kusana. Matteo DiCarlo. Peter de Grandpre. In fairness, Peter, I shared with your mom, I always get tongue-tied with the beginning. And it happened again. So she told me just to call you Peter. So. Nate DiNicola. Ari Dory could not be with us tonight, but Ari's on the team. Same with Alexander Fraunfelder, could not be with us either. Ethan Frenda. Sean Griffin. Matt Hollier. Cody King. Peter Kissel. Jack Lopez could not be with us tonight. Congratulations, Jack. Marco Lorenzi also could not be with us tonight. Jack Morris can be with us tonight. Daniel Nathans. Daniel Richardson. John Richardson. Daniel Sr. William Sykes. Joseph Sorgi. Matthew Todd. Doria Tiagi could not be with us tonight. We still clap, though. Brody Watt. And our last recipient is Jack Wild, and he could not be with us tonight, but let's give a round of applause to the whole team. So that is the end of the student recognitions for tonight. And again, one final congratulations to the cross-country team. Very well earned. I'm going to provide an update for the board and for the community. I like doing this on a monthly basis, but certainly there's a lot to celebrate here in the school district and a lot of positive things taking place in the community. Some of the items that have been in the news is that at our last board meeting, we did appoint our new coaching staff for the high school for the basketball team, and Mr. Johnson started his work shortly after his appointment, actually a few hours after his appointment. So we're excited for him, and we're excited for the evolution of the basketball program up here at the high school. We have some community service news that certainly was in the news. We have some great work that is being done at Bedwell, and that was covered in the press. And it's a, as I follow emails in the district, it seems that virtually every day there's a theme, and every month there's a theme coming out of Bedwell. And it's been for years that it's been taking place, and it's, it's great to see. It's covered by the press, and it's certainly a part of our narrative here in the district. The high school had their annual blood drive very recently. That too was covered in the press. Students and faculty came together here at the high school and were able to donate blood. We had over 40 students and staff members that gave blood here in the community room, and that's a big initiative here at the high school. We hosted, or the high school hosted, a college readiness alumni panel. That has become somewhat of a tradition here at the high school, where our recent graduates do return in an effort to share some of the early learnings that they have had in college regarding how to transition into a college course load, how to live independently, and to kind of pay it forward a bit. It's a popular day, not only for the students, but for the eager June graduates from the high school to come back and to give back. And that transition, as it was alluded to in the high school report tonight, is challenging. It's stressful. It's a lot on the kids that move from high school to college, and certainly any bit of assistance and support that the kids that are in that area of moving on to the next level can get really is great. I know on a personal level, I have a senior in high school that's rising to college next year, and certainly that transition is a constant topic of conversation. So the more info, the merrier. We've gathered, or in the process of gathering, some community input in two ways at the moment. We hosted a second event with respect to investigating the viability and investigating the various nuances around installing LED lighting at the high school facility, particularly on the football field. Our first event was last June. It was a bit more traditional. We had an event last Thursday night that was more focus group format. We had about 45 members of the community that participated, and they really did represent a nice cross-section of the Somerset Hills School District, particularly Bernardsville, as far as residents go. And it was a nice cross-section of input and feedback. It was very balanced, and it offered me a great deal of reflection points as we move forward into the future. I will be engaging with that group again, probably in the March or April timeframe, and again in September of '24. And in March and April, I would expect to be able to review a formal report based off of the focus group work that we did together, and continue to kind of drill down into understanding the various pinch points and nuances around installing lights, so the board can have as much information as possible in order to continue to assess the situation. So we're still in the fact-finding stage and the information gathering stage, and we did share out that information with the public, and in my next communication with the public, we will have a slide deck that was done, that was shared in advance with the focus group, prior to them getting to work. We did have 4 major areas that we were asking questions on, and I will certainly articulate that in the form of a report to the board in the coming weeks, certainly as we get into 2024. We've also asked for feedback regarding the development of a communication plan. Currently, we have 150 residents of the community who do not have Somerset Hills kids in our classrooms that have participated, in addition to parents and some students as well, and faculty members. So we have a nice cross-section so far. That survey does remain open until early January and is accessible on our website. Bedwell celebrated the hour of coding, and coding is certainly a growing career track and career field, and it's an area that we have come to place great importance on in K-12 education, and it does start with our elementary kids, and certainly it grows and develops as we move through our K-12 continuum here. And at the high school, Nolan Baker was honored and named as the Bernards High School Everyday Hero. That was covered in the news, as was a ceremony for Pearl Harbor Day that took place at Bedwell. We had organized predominantly by teachers. We had teachers whose parents served in our military, and it was a terrific ceremony, and that's been covered in the media as well. As has been reported here on a number of occasions, the Somerset Hills Education Foundation is beginning their work once again, and they had a successful event last Sunday over in Peatback Gladstone. They had a pet parade, and we also had members of the Bernards High School Jazz Ensemble playing for them as well, and there was an ugly sweater contest. So it was certainly an active day over there, and we had some involvement from the Somerset County Prosecutor's Office Canine Unit, who offered an overview of what canine units do, how they're deployed, how they're trained, and just kind of walked you through, or walked all of us through, what their day is like. There's a photo up on the screen, and there are a few dogs laying on the ground there that are canine units that do respond to a variety of law enforcement matters, which is great to know. And there's again, it's a very successful canine unit at the county level that does serve many communities. Certainly Somerset Hills when it's needed, but they also do, they lend out and respond to matters that take place in other counties as well. And lastly, from the social scene, I did attend the Far Hills tree lighting a few weeks ago, and that was great fun and a great night, and we did have Mayor Kevin Walsh here a few months ago to thank him for his partnership, and he extended the offer back to me to attend that event, and really was enjoyable, and loved it. And the Madrigals were there, and they seem to be everywhere in the area this time of year, singing and doing beautiful work. And so it was a great event, and looking forward to any future events for next year. I want to take an opportunity to discuss and to provide an update for the board regarding its strategic plan. The plan is mid-process, mid-flux, and I wanted to provide an overview of the 4 areas in which you all developed a plan. It's the 2021 to 2025 strategic plan. There are goals in the area of facilities, health, wellness, and social emotional learning, diverse pathways to student success, and community engagement and partnership. I wanted to provide an update based upon where we are. Dr. Fernari did this in June, and I'm doing it tonight, and I would expect to wrap up the academic year by doing the same similar update for you. So in our facilities work, there's been a lot that's been completed thus far. That work is a bit more tangible, yes, no. We completed the media center over at the middle school. The high school athletic field was completed. We've begun in the planning processes and planning phase for a track replacement. And we do anticipate having that project memorialized into the fiscal year 25 budget. So this next budget that comes in front of the board, we would expect that to be spoken to there. There's a goal regarding school technology spaces, and we are composing a STEM task force to examine these matters, and would expect that they get completed by the culmination of the strategic plan, and are followed up by subsequent meetings with district architects so we can best inform the board moving forward regarding those needs, and also how to plan for any implementation for those projects. Lastly, on the facilities side of the strategic action plan is an investigation regarding the feasibility of lights on Olcott Field, and I have spoken to that. We're very much in the information gathering stage of things. We're not at the point where we have plans to present or anything along those lines. We're just trying to work through the various viewpoints, opinions, thoughts, not only about the lights, but also about other nuances regarding any implementation of lights down the road, should that happen. Thinking about things like facility usage, parking, impact on the community, being good neighbors, things along those lines. The facility here is a beautiful one. What makes it so unique is the location virtually in a neighborhood makes it a great opportunity to be able to open up some dialogue with folks that live particularly around the high school. We have a goal in the area of health, wellness, and social emotional learning. One of the goals was to solidify a SEL vision. SEL is for social emotional learning, and we are planning a student wellness task force that's being chaired by Dr. Walker, who oversees these items at the K-12 level. So that is in the process. We have completed a needs assessment in the area of social emotional learning at Bedwell through Rutgers Behavioral Health in order to inform any interventions we have regarding student wellness. And we do need to reach and establish decisions whether or not additional curriculum is involved in our planning, and we're not quite there yet. There's a goal to leverage co-curriculars to support student wellness as well. Number one, we seek to kind of offer a home for every kid in the district, a safe space, particularly in the area of clubs and student activities. We have added some clubs to the high school through this strategic plan work, and also have identified funding sources for those plans. So that's an important completion point. There's actually a motion on the agenda tonight for the board to consider regarding the compensation for executing those clubs. So we're literally at the end of that process there. Student Wellness Task Force will examine a variety of outreach mechanisms to encourage kids to participate in at least one club and student activity throughout their time at the high school. That work continues, as is our commitment to establishing some opportunities across buildings and within the 3 schools in our district to partner up. We are not at the point where we're ready to finalize any plans, but conceptually speaking, we're very open to opportunities that merge different groups of kids together, almost as a way to pause some days. And so that's been, those have been some productive conversations thus far. The idea really is to smoothen some transition items between our 3 schools. Ensuring mental health at each school certainly is a goal here, particularly in the area of having what we call mental health spaces in our schools, and some decompression rooms of sorts. And we recently met with our architects, and they've been in all facilities, and that was a point of discussion with all principals to be able to have rooms that are student-friendly, particularly for those that are experiencing any variety sort of challenges in the area of mental health or stress or what have you. So we have engaged with the board's architects, bless you, for that work. Our third goal, by and large, is it continues to be a work in progress. Diverse pathways to student success. First is to expand a career exploration and also to provide some access to different experiences. Student Wellness Task Force is overseeing a lot of this work, and we have moved forward with 2 dual enrollment opportunities for high school kids that focus on a particular interest when they plan on leaving the high school after their graduation. So dual enrollment is a great opportunity to earn credit at the college level and to be exposed to a variety of different opportunities, curriculum, etc. At the same time, our exploration of career and technical education needs to continue to grow and modify and put kids in the position to pursue career fields of their interest that we may not provide here. And we would like to have structures during the course of our academic days to be able to expose kids to some of those opportunities. I have had some conversations up at the high school in particular, not only with some work study types of opportunities, but also in the area of engaging students and families early with respect to career paths and career interests once they leave the high school here. Being able to provide certainly an accelerated college track is an important outcome here, but also being able to prepare kids for career fields, A, that they're interested in, and B, even prepare them for career fields that may not even exist yet. So it's certainly a growing economy, and the kids here want to contribute to the economy in a variety of different ways, and it's our role to be able to provide access to those opportunities. At the same time, we're looking to broaden what we're offering by gaining more student input as to what they're interested in growing towards after high school, particularly in the CTE field, career and technical education. diverse course offerings and opportunities while solidifying current academic pathways as a goal. We are in the process of developing summer programming for advanced credit and also for credit recovery, and also investigating the expansion of any after-school and academic support programs as well. And certainly professional development is a big key to a lot of this work. And we're also in the process of improving our intervention and referral services programs in order to align with what's called a tiered system of support model in order to support students as they grow through our system, and to support students that may be experiencing a challenge of sorts academically. The district is in the final phases of crafting a budget that speaks to a bilingual program at Bedwell. And in addition, Bedwell continues through its expanded pre-K program this year, and certainly we're having some discussions on what that looks like for the future as far as any expansions as well. External partnerships are a critical outgrowth of the work that really needs to take place when you're talking about a variety of different lanes for students to pursue once they leave the high school, and engaging not only with the Somerset Hills community, but also the folks in private industry, in CTE fields and other fields is a critical importance and a critical outgrowth here. We have a lot of students here that have a lot to contribute, and it's not just in the career field. We have kids that are interested in accounting, law, government, and there's certainly some great opportunities there. In the area of community engagement and partnership, the high school is working very closely with the social studies supervisor and impacted departments there to refine its community service program. There are a host of metrics there that we're looking to address with respect to community service, and there have been some engagements in the area of drafting curriculum, some opportunities for students to present out their own learning with a goal that has a community service program that has great value to kids, and kind of expands on what the many outgrowths of positive outgrowths for community service piece there. So it's an important piece here to the high school, and there is a refinement of how that looks and the type of work that's been done. Continuing in the area of community engagement and partnership, we have a commitment to community outreach, and that has been a significant part of my transition here for you on behalf of the district, is to engage all of the communities that comprise Somerset Hills. That's been a great joy for me to not only reach out to our community leaders and particular groups, but also to private industry to understand what their pinch points are in their own industries and how they may be able to partner with us. So those discussions and introductions continue, and I would recommend or suggest and request that any member of the board or the community that has a particular area that they become knowledgeable in or knowledgeable of, just to reach out to me. I'd love to connect with any folks in the area that can benefit our kids. Co-curricular leveraging continues. We have the development of a student activity task force that is not only looking at athletics, but the entire co-curricular program to engage a greater group of kids, or as many kids that want to be engaged as possible. And so we are expecting that work to be concluded in the winter, early spring. Communication certainly is a point of emphasis in our strategic plan. In the coming weeks, in the coming months, we will kind of formalize and finalize a communication plan. We are getting great feedback, like I shared, from the community, and that's been great to see it as it comes in. I do want to make a comment on social media with respect to its applicability inside of the strategic plan. It's spoken to in a variety of different ways inside of the plan that was delivered to me, and I do feel like we don't want to be in a situation where the toothpaste is out of the tube, and then we're trying to figure out how to implement any social media platforms. I think the organizational structures need to be in place. I think things like consistency, things like message, things like branding are very, very important. And I do pause a bit on just relying on different individual groups to make unilateral decisions on what is posted on social media, how it's posted, and the content is important to me. The content certainly is important to all of us from a branding perspective and also a credibility perspective, and we want it to be a clean, crisp look. And certainly having folks whose roles are do include communications is important as well. And we have folks here on the instructional side that have full-time jobs in instruction and also advise clubs, et cetera. But I would like to have a model that's a bit more streamlined as far as how things are posted and advertised and when and what the content looks like, and just kind of ensuring on a crisp, clean look is it's important to me. And that doesn't say that the concepts around utilizing social media don't have a lot of value. They do, but I do pause a little bit on implementing any formalized structures until we have kind of the right operational pieces in place. So that's my comment on that. I wanted to provide just a brief update on my first 100 days in the district. And my time here it really has vacillated in a lot of different ways, a lot of different activities, a lot of different kind of leadership points. First is organizational management. Certainly there have been significant policy reviews, budget development, helping to oversee a lot of the final pieces of facility projects that took place in the summer. Much credit to Jenny DeMarco and her team. There was very little for me to do there, but I nevertheless enjoyed tagging along. Examining school security from an operational perspective was very, very important, and that's been a significant outgrowth. And developing a communication plan is now front and center, as is overseeing strategic plan. Second area is to support the people that we're serving. So the summer months, really in early fall, really entailed items on the human resources side: staffing, hiring, preparing for the school year, focusing in a variety of ways in relationship development with you all as board members, with the community, with everybody that works here, the kids, with our labor groups. Early on, it became clear that there was a great opportunity to engage with our English language learning group, and we are, there's a group that has kind of come together, and they've been kind enough to invite me in the district into it, and so that has been great as well, and certainly understanding how does STEM reflect in the district now, and then what our feelings are for the future. Focus a third area in community integration, focusing on relationships, again, with local government, stakeholder groups, and all sorts of different folks, and with the intent of establishing and developing and continuing community partnerships, and trying to establish new folks to get engaged and to be part of the district. And that's been it's been great fun to kind of get to know people and understand where they are, as far as the school district, what they serve, et cetera. And the fourth area that I provided in a transition and in the day-to-day really is in symbolic leadership. We hosted a convocation to start the year. We did so in a very positive way, and that continues. Certainly, Main Street Burnersville has been a partner here, and they just recently did a beautiful parade for our student athletes. We have partnered with a group called Capturing Kids' Hearts, and we're kind of targeting them in the area of character development at the middle school. Our board meetings have started off, as tonight is no different, with recognizing great outcomes inside of the district. I certainly have attended student activities and have been engaging with some of our media groups too at the student level, not only at the high school but also down at Bedwell. So the first 100 days really, entailed a lot of looking, a lot of listening, a lot of learning, and they've helped me to refine what our next level of work is here. And I've spoken about it on a few occasions, but developing a communication plan certainly is our next level of work, as is continuing our work at the task force level around student needs, around co-curriculars, and around student wellness. That's a really important next level of work, and continuing to examine concepts and outcomes around student achievement. So from an organizational perspective, that's kind of what our next level of work is. When we look at supporting our stakeholders, the primary piece here is to develop a budget in concert with Ms. DeMarco, all of the supervisors and principals and teachers, and certainly lastly with the board for fiscal year 25. We will get to the point in the spring where we're appointing staff for the following school year. In the event that there are retirements, we'll be able to fill them with new staff members, and continuing to partner with SHE and with the Administrators Association. And I use the word partner, really with a capital P. And it's an important piece to our next level of work. And then symbolically, we will continue our commencement exercises at the end of the year and develop an enhanced website presence and continue our recognition of students and staff. So our next level of work really focuses around identifying opportunities and leveraging some solutions to some of our challenges. And looking ahead, we have an annual reorganization meeting of the board in January. I believe it's on the 3rd. We continue our departmental and school-based budget meetings in December. So Mr. Marco and I meet with all of the different various department heads, and as a way to not only understand what their requests are, but also begin our work at arriving at a final recommendation and determination for the board. Our November-December edition of Pathways to Success should be out to email addresses shortly and on our website. We are in the process of new board member orientation. We are finalizing or in the process of enjoying our winter concerts, and then our winter break begins on December 22nd with an early dismissal. And that culminates the superintendent's report for this evening, Ms. Frenda.
Thank you very much, Dr. Virtual, for all of that information. Another congratulations to our boys cross country team and our student speakers and all of our students accomplishing amazing things daily. We will move on to public comments for actionable agenda items. We very much welcome input from the public. Public comments are welcome at this time on any actionable agenda item. Towards the end of the meeting, there is a second public forum on any topic. Please state your name and address. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, but an individual may speak a second time after all others who wish to speak on the topic have been heard, for a total of 2 turns at the podium. Please understand that our public forums are not structured as question and answer sessions, but are offered as opportunities to share your thoughts with the board. In instances where the board feels that there is a misunderstanding or inaccuracy, the board president or superintendent may address the comment. In accordance with New Jersey statute, the board will not discuss matters regarding specific personnel. Public comments will be limited to 30 minutes. We request that all comments remain respectful. Ms. DeMarco will start her trusty timer over there and set it for 3 minutes. When the timer goes off, I will interrupt the speaker to let them know that their time has expired and to let anyone else who wishes to take the podium do so. And then when all speakers have finished, anyone can return to finish any comments they may have. So thank you in advance for your input, and if there's anyone that would like to take the podium on actionable agenda items, now would be the time. Okay, seeing none, can I get a motion to close public comments, please? Ms. Cooper, and second, Ms. Santora? Okay, thank you. And we will be moving on to the approval of the minutes. I will need a motion to approve the minutes. Ms. Rye, and a second? Ms. Tober, thank you. Is there any discussion regarding the minutes? Nope. Okay, then Mr. Merkel, roll call, please.
Ms. Nathans? Yes. Mrs. Santoro?
Yes.
Mrs. Tober? Yes. Mrs. Rye?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper? Mrs. D. Grandpre?
Yes.
Ills? Mr. Joyce?
Yes.
And Mrs. Frenda?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Next up on the agenda is the report of the Finance Committee. So, Mr. Baker, please.
Thank you. The Finance Committee met on November 29th for an hour and 10 minutes. All members were present, along with Dr. Broschel and Mrs. DeMarco. We talked about 7 items. First item we talked was about the budget calendar, which there's the main mileposts are pretty similar to what we've had in the past year. At our March meeting, we will discuss the draft budget, and then in our April 24th meeting, we will have a public hearing on the budget, and we will approve the budget that night if we can. In other words, as long as everybody's in agreement and nobody from the public has changed our minds that evening, we will go ahead. We talked about an idea that Dr. Broschel came up with is to have another step in there to help all the board members understand the budget as thoroughly as possible. So his idea was to have a board retreat on a Saturday. Now, I know Saturdays are not wildly popular for some people, but for a half a day, the committee thought it was an excellent idea, and so we can have a discussion after I finish if anybody wants to change my mind. So the next item we talked about was the communication survey, which Dr. Brochel's already talked about, so I'm not going to talk about it. Next item, we learned about the Bedminster sending and receiving agreement, which is a 5-year agreement. It outlines in a 4 or 5 page document, I think it's 4 or 5 pages, what we will do for Bedminster and what they will do for us. And so we need to review that, make some changes, and then get that signed off by the end of this school year, because it does expire in June. So Dr. Broschel and Mrs. DeMarco have met with their counterparts in Bedminster, and they will go back and forth, and they will keep the board advised of something that if they get a sticking point where they need our help, we will help them. But I'm sure, because things are going smoothly from what I understand, I don't think it's going to be a big deal. Next item, Dr. Broschel talked about some of his wish list for personnel. And I used a wish list. Everybody has a wish list. It's Christmas time. Doesn't mean you're going to get everything you wish for. So All these wish items are confidential at the moment, most of them, because we're still thinking about them, whether we can get them into the budget. We're going to be working on those going as we get the draft budget by March. We did talk also about some capital projects, which he's already talked about in his overview. So the track, they're going to core the track, and we're going to see how much it has to be replaced underneath, not the top. We know the top's going to be totally redone. It's what's underneath. So hopefully we'll know more about that. Next item we talked about was the change in the substitute rates, which is on the agenda, item number 11. And you'll notice on there, we basically have done away with the differential of a Bedwell substitute and a high school, middle school substitute. So those rates have gone up. And based on the certificate you have, we've increased those. The secretary's gone up, the confidential secretary's gone up, the paraprofessionals have gone up, the custodians have gone up, the maintenance has gone up, and the bus professionals have increased, and the rest of them have stayed the same. So we'll be voting on that this evening. Dr. Broschel is working on getting the contract with the Borough of Bernardsville for our special school officers. So we were hoping to have that on tonight's agenda, but we don't. So hopefully, maybe in the first thing of the year, maybe at reorg we could pass that, but you never know. And the last item we talked about was we're approving the transfer report for June. When they were doing the audit, they found that we had put the ESSER funds are the federal funds that we received during COVID. They were put in the wrong spots, so we made some changes. We still get the right amount of money. They were just not booked properly, if you know anything about accounting. So I'll give the floor back to Mrs. Brenda.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Baker. I would like to request a motion to approve action items numbers 1 through 17 on the agenda
Yeah, well,
after we make the motions, yes.
One thing I want to say is there are several items on here that are covered by committees that haven't reported yet. So if anybody had questions on, I'll tell you which ones they are. On number 8 and number 9, which is a wellness grant, that comes under Heather's report. And we also have, what's the other one we have? And under curriculum, we have the number 7. So if anybody had a question on those, I think it would be appropriate if everybody agrees for the chairman to answer any questions on those items, because we're voting on them before they give their report, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that was my suggestion,
Okay,
okay?
okay. Then a motion, Ms. Rye, and a second. Ms. Nathans? Okay, and discussion.
We enlist a demographer who tells us what they're telling us is how many kids will be coming to our school. That's all they do, based on birth rates, trends, construction, whatever. Dr. Broschel recommend we should have a second one because their opinions vary, all right? And there's a lot of things going on in our 4 towns that can affect our birth rate. So this is a planning tool that we need to decide how many sections we may need in a certain grade, what the future holds. So it's purely a birth rate thing. So as you might have read, the birth rate is changing right now. It's gone down. Our school enrollment has gone down. So the hardest thing for us to do each year is to do the kindergarten, because you don't know who's coming and who's not until the very end, okay? Does that answer your question, Mrs. Gill? You're okay, welcome. Okay.
If I could just follow up on that, in the various municipalities that we're serving, there are construction projects that we expect to go in front of the planning board. And, you know, the process of identifying, like, how many kids could that mean for the district is important info for us to have. So we're at the point now where we really should be doing a demographic study every 2 or 3 years. I know Burnsville has some construction that's been in discussions. I know Far Hills has some that's been in some discussions. And I think that there's some, it's a bit early, but there's some flow of things out in Peapack, Gladstone, which may impact us years down the road. So it's a good practice, particularly when new housing is coming online, to understand what that impact is for us too. So,
I appreciate it. I think it's a great idea.
yeah.
I want to say I am fully in support, Bob, of the budget retreat, even on a Saturday. I think it's really important. In all honesty, you know, I think having the full board understand, you know, to a level of depth, the budget and what, you know, how it is planned for, what we're looking at, I think it's a really good idea. So I'm not going to fight you on it.
Okay.
Do you want me to talk for a second about the wellness grant, since we're voting on it now? I was going to talk about it in facilities, but per Bob's recommendation, it's up to you, Sam. if-
You can
Okay.
certainly speak to it so that everybody is informed.
Aware, yeah, so. Okay, yeah, okay. So, in facilities, we did speak about, the school's health insurance fund wellness grant. So the district, this is great news, the district has been approved for a $15,000 grant to run a wellness program. This program will be available to all full-time district employees, and we will utilize Avanta Health, a wellness platform, to deliver and track the program. The program's gonna have 3 main components: Active Fit, geolocation, and Active Fit at home. Participants are going to be incentivized to participate in 12 activities a month, and if they achieve this goal, they will receive a $10 gift card each month. The program will start in January of '24 and end in June. Participants will have access to online classes, and there is also a mental fitness, cognitive-based therapy component that they can access through an app called Spot It. Associated with this grant is a $2,000 stipend for management, and this position has been filled through the application process. So that is what we are voting on in, I think it was 8 and 9. Yep. Any questions on that?
I just want to say something. I think that's brilliant.
It is fantastic.
As one who has participated in it for many
Yeah.
years, it is really good.
Yeah, so.
And I can talk about number 7, which we talked discussed in the curriculum. So it's number 7 is approve the NJ CAP grant. Dr. Butler and our committee mentioned that we also received a grant from New Jersey. NJCAP stands for New Jersey Child Assault Prevention, and it's an organization that runs a statewide community-based prevention program that seeks to reduce children's vulnerability to abuse, neglect, and bullying by providing comprehensive prevention workshops for children, parents, and school staff. So that is what that is on number 7.
Okay. And now that all the information has been presented, is there any further discussion on any of the items? Yeah.
Not on those points, but I do second what Heather said. I'm in support of the budget meeting in March. It will be spring sports, so if we can get it on the calendar soon, that'd be good. But no, that'd be good. I remember my first year, we had some kind of meeting in the library, and it was very, very helpful. So
Typically, the way we would do it is we would wait for state aid to be released to the district, and the Department of Education is statutorily required to provide that on a specific date, late February. So it would be somewhere after that and prior to the tentative budget approval for you, so.
Isn't that a very narrow window, though?
It's very narrow, yeah. So the state aid, not to get too much into the weeds of what we do, but it's kind of like the last thing we put in.
Right.
We make projections on where we think it's going to lie.
Right.
And then, that's, once we get that, it's kind of the last thing we do, and then we'll be ready to come to you.
So again, so there's not that much flexibility in the timing of that workshop
No,
then?
unfortunately not,
Yeah.
no.
Right. Okay.
But,
No, as I said in the committee, our committee fully supported it. I totally do as well.
and I would expect that the department puts out their budget calendar framework shortly for BAs and superintendents. So, well, we should know by reorg or potentially by reorg when would be a good day, but to your point, it'll be probably the first Saturday in March or the second.
Okay, so then I guess we should exit off on our calendars, since I also think it's a fantastic idea. Hold those Saturdays. Is there anything else? No? Okay, so then can we get roll call, please?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. And we will give it back to Mrs. Santoro for the remainder of the facilities and operations report.
Okay, so we met on the 29th for about an hour. All committee members were there, in addition to Mrs. DeMarco and Dr. Brochel. We've talked about the wellness grant, and another item we talked about was the high school baseball and softball fields. We've talked about this in the last couple meetings, so the committee was given information on the specifics of the work that we're going to do to make the fields playable in the short term to get them ready for the spring season. So right now, we think that work is going to cost around $9,000, and it's going to include sodding, raking, pitching, and grooming the infields. That's kind of preventative maintenance work. Additionally, the administration would like to proceed with a larger assessment and understanding of what is needed to ensure the safety and playability of these fields for the long term going forward. So this will require a detailed assessment that our engineers and architects will conduct, and they will gather information on the fields, document existing conditions, establish conceptual designs for future improvements to regrade the site and provide improved drainage on how we could do this. So out of that assessment, we would determine projects that are necessary for the viability of these fields in the long term. So we spent some time talking about that. We discussed the communication survey that Dr. Brochel spoke about in his remarks. We also, it was brought to our attention that there was an immediate need in the lower gym. We had a plumbing issue, so that we had to take care of that, especially embarking on the wrestling season. So there are specific wrestling procedures that require full use of these facilities, so that was going to be taken care of immediately. And then again, that is an area where a longer-term assessment is required to see what we need to do in the lower gyms. They're kind of getting a little bit up there in age, so we need to take a look at that. Dr. Brochel talked to us about the Department of Education security visit. This was requested by the district, and there were many security positives that were noted, and definitely an impression that we have a very good hands-all on our security. Within the district, there were some recommendations that administration will work on going forward and seek to improve based on their feedback and understanding of security and what is going on across the state. We did just have a unique discussion about fire poles in our Alcott building, which is it actually a historic building? Yeah. It's a historic building, and we have the original fire poles over there. So there was some level of concern because some of them are placed next to the active fire poles. So we worked with the fire department to ensure that we could maintain the historic nature of those poles, but also note that they are not working and not functional, and make sure that in case of an emergency, people utilize the correct poles. So we did have a discussion about that. And the administration is beginning to take a look at student records for that consideration of the slightly adjusting the start time, whether that's necessary or not. That's one of the components that they want to look at from the Peapack Gladstone residents and Far Hills in particular because of the train times. So those are the things that we touched upon. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Mrs. Brenda.
Okay, thank you. So then at this time, I would like to request a motion to move action item number 1 on the agenda. Ms. Nathans, in a second. Mr. Grandpré, and is there any discussion?
So yes, I had some additional questions on the fields, because it's not a small chunk of money that we are investing in it, but I also understand it's not going to be fixing everything. So you said sodding, grooming. Do we know exactly, or can we find out exactly what will be done in the preventive maintenance on this side? And then will there be anything before our investigation for a larger plan, if there are any complications going into the spring for those teams as we start to open? Thanks, yeah.
Like the initial work that we're gonna do is to get those fields ready for spring.
Right, to have them be safer and more playable this coming spring. And the work's being done, from what I understand, the next,
Before break.
before
This is a
winter break.
Right, this
So.
is a preventive maintenance. That doesn't mean this is the only work that's gonna be done on the fields for spring, but this is something that should be done right now before break, before winter. And then once we open it up for spring, we might do more work, if it's needed.
Okay.
So it's kind of a short-term, long-term, multifaceted.
Yeah, I think just having a better understanding of like kind of what's exactly happening for those teams from some of the complaints that the community have had will be a little bit more helpful.
So I'll share the proposal with you, which has the details of everything.
Thank you.
Just a point of information on the high school start times. Berners Township Board had a community meeting the other night, and if you read the Burnersville News, Jake wrote the article, I'm pretty sure. It's very enlightening just to see what all the parents and the people think over there, because we need to take that information in too. So I would recommend everybody should read that article. Okay. Summit. Chatham, okay.
Yeah, just for your information as well, I have a high level of connectivity with superintendents in the county and certainly our neighboring superintendents. And I've received some dialogue on this. And certainly it's a complex matter with a host of implications far and wide, particularly when you have a K-12 structure like Berners Township and like Somerset Hills. So certainly we're watching and learning, and candidly, I think some of the challenges are challenges that those of us in this business predict. The impact on the elementary parent, the impact on the elementary child, the impact on the elementary staff member it's a pretty big second order change. And so there's certainly a lot of layers there. Yeah.
When we went, Bob, I think you went to that meeting of school board, you know, there was several different times. And
Yeah.
there was, you went, I think one, I think you were there, and the superintendent of Princeton, presented. But I do recall them noting that it took them, I think, 2 years to work through this process. It wasn't something that you can do overnight. It was a long process to deal with all those levels of change and understand the impact on everyone. So I don't, it's nothing that I think we should enter in lightly, but I do think it's interesting that it is kind of post-COVID coming back up and filtering through different school districts right now. I would like to understand from the staff that as we prepare our budget, there's less than 18 months room and we only need hours. That would be an issue for them, which may not be an issue for us. Being very compelling argument for the city of Grove. That's what I'm
Just quickly, probably touching on a few things here, but it is an exciting time to be a part of the F&O committee. I know some of the highlights here on the athletic facilities. Kristen, we did have discussions about like the short-term expenses, long-term, and I think just full circle at the bigger level, it's exciting because, you know, jumping, you know, into the lights realm, but even the turf, the track, I think we have the potential of having one of the more beautiful athletic facilities in the state, which is exciting. But we are touching on everything from fire poles to media center. You know, that's great because, you know, it is a historic piece, right? We want to preserve those aspects of the district. But Dr. Broschel, I do appreciate I think there was proactiveness on bringing the third party in for the security audit, if I'm not mistaken. And those are some of the most important things that we should really hone in on. And any upgrades there, like you said, I think early on, you know, you take X amount of students in the school and staff members and you want to send those home. So that's really exciting and important to look into.
Anybody else? No? Okay, then we can do roll call.
Mrs. Tober? Yes. Mrs. Rowley?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mrs. DeGraffenreidt?
Yes.
Ms. Gilge?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce?
Yes.
Ms. Stevens?
Yes.
Mrs. Sanborn? Yes. Abstaining from
Abstain from 1, number 4, and number 5.
and Mrs. Friend?
Yes.
If I could, I'd like to go off agenda for a moment because I neglected to bring up a discussion that I had today with Mrs. Tober regarding a survey request that she received on email. It's a doctoral dissertation survey. We don't have a policy. We do have policies around students that are surveyed, but we don't have policies around when you're surveying an adult. The survey that they're conducting has to do with an adult superintendent searches. And she received that. I apologize, I neglected to bring that up. I reviewed it. I don't have a problem with it. It's no issue to participate in. There's no official vote for the board, you know, on this particular matter. But I just wanted to make you aware that Mrs. Tober was solicited via email. For all I know, you all could have been solicited as well. There's no issue
I think they're all.
from my lens, but I thought it'd be best if you know, if there was an issue at the board level to kind of have you guys articulate it, but you have the blessing of the administration for it.
Can I just
Yeah.
ask, so it is best practice to ask before
Yes.
anyone fills that out, right? Or
Yes.
a survey out, people shouldn't be just filling it out without asking.
Correct, yeah, and I'm glad you sent along, because sometimes you have to read the fine print on what they're doing with the data. So, it's pretty harmless doctoral dissertation, and as a survivor of one, it's hard to, sometimes it's hard to get people to to participate, so, it's not an issue for me.
Thank
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, and we can move on to curriculum.
All right, the curriculum committee met Tuesday, November 28th for 2 hours. Committee members in attendance included Mr. Baker, Ms. Frenda, Mr. Joyce, Ms. Santoro, and me. We were also joined by Dr. Broschel, Dr. Butler, Mr. Catelli, and Ms. Allen. Really excited tonight to be presenting this tonight. We have some exciting things to talk about. We discussed several topics at our meeting, but primarily focused on discussing a new initiative at Bedwell. I'm so thrilled to say that we'll be initiating a bilingual program for our multi-language learners, or MLLs, in kindergarten next year. Mr. Catelli and Ms. Allen began the meeting by presenting the rationale for initiating a bilingual program in the district, emphasizing that such a program is needed to support the large and growing MLL community at Bedwell. Currently, 15.5% of students at Bedwell are MLLs, a percentage that has increased from about 3% about 10 years ago. More than 70% of our MLL students have a level of proficiency in English of less than 3.5 on a 6-point scale, and many of our Spanish-speaking MLL students lacked grade-level academic skills in their dominant language. Bilingual programs or instructional alternatives are required in public schools with large MLL programs. The New Jersey Department of Education requires that districts with at least 20 MLL students speaking the same dominant language at home initiate a bilingual program or submit a waiver. Districts who are granted waivers must provide an alternative to a bilingual program, such as sheltered instruction or a high-intensity English as a second language program. Waivers give districts time to plan for bilingual programming in their schools. And effective bilingual programming requires significant planning, infrastructure, and support within the school. And developing such programming takes time. In recent years, our district has been granted waivers for bilingual instruction, but in 2019, the process for creating a bilingual program at Bedwell was initiated. In 2020, the process was delayed a bit by COVID, but in the meantime, we've offered sheltered instruction as an approved alternative to bilingual education. Students who have received sheltered instruction receive at least one period of instruction every day by a certified ESL teacher who has undergone at least 15 hours of training in sheltered instruction strategies. Given the rapid increase in the number of MLL students at Bedwell and their unique needs, the administration has strongly recommended the initiation of a full-time bilingual programming targeting kindergarten and first grade students beginning next year. Bilingual programming is built on the idea that proficiency in the dominant language allows students to learn a second language more easily. According to state requirements, full-time bilingual programs provide a full-time program of instruction in all courses that a child is required to take, including instruction in speaking, listening, reading, and writing in the dominant language, and instruction in speaking, listening, reading, and writing in English. The goal of the proposed program at Bedwell is to build a grade-level foundation in our MLL students' first language, Spanish, to facilitate future academic success in English-only learning environment. To ensure that our program is successful, our administrators have visited or will visit several districts with effective MLL programs, including Franklin, New Brunswick, Vineland, and Elizabeth. At the time of our curriculum meeting, administrators had visited Franklin and New Brunswick. When they visited these schools, administrators learned about useful bilingual resources and best practices in bilingual education, including the benefits of pairing bilingual classes with a sister class early in the trajectory of education. They also learned that teachers should have common planning time, and support for the program should be built throughout the staff and community through messaging to both groups, and that highly successful MLL programs provide support to MLL kids in all aspects of their lives. The most successful bilingual programs celebrate the benefits of multilingualism and celebrate multilingualism as a superpower, which can foster pride in and support for bilingual programming in throughout the schools. Our proposed bilingual program, the Bedwell Elementary Spanish Transitional Program, or BEST, will begin in kindergartners who qualify starting in the fall of 2024. In 2025, both kindergartners and first grade MLLs who qualify will participate. Kindergartners who will qualify will be identified based on home language surveys, widest screener scores, and their educational history. Among Bedwell kindergartners, current Bedwell kindergartners, 12 students would currently qualify for the proposed bilingual program. The transitional bilingual program will build on the foundation in the student's dominant language while introducing English during social studies and science time. As students progress in Spanish, they would transition to more English instruction and ultimately enter a monolingual English classroom, which is projected to happen by second or third grade. The course content and class schedule mirror those in general education classrooms in all subject areas. As recommended by other districts, the bilingual class would partner with a general education class for related arts instruction, so that both MLLs and English language speakers can get to know each other and to help ensure that MLL students have friends outside the program when moving to monolingual classrooms. Mr. Catelli, Dr. Butler, and Ms. Allen then reviewed the proposed costs and resources needed for the program, which included about $6,000 in curriculum writing, $10,000 in program materials, $10,000 in additional furniture supplies, and the cost of the salary of one teacher in the first year and 2 teachers in the second year. Overall, the committee was really excited about the program and recognized its numerous potential benefits for students, the Bedwell community, and the district. Committee members asked questions about logistics, staff enthusiasm, community outreach, and plans for optimizing MLL instruction in other grades and other schools, but was very supportive of the program and appreciative of the administration's commitment to our MLL students. The committee also discussed the importance of meeting the needs of MLL families and enrolling their children into kindergarten and helping MLL families feel comfortable throughout the process. We then transitioned into a discussion on special education in our district and our outstanding questions regarding its impact and future needs. We look forward to discussing the answers to those questions and plans related to the progress and needs of students receiving special education services in the January meeting and beyond. Next, Dr. Butler gave us the great news that our district was awarded the full $58,000 grant to support high-impact in-school tutoring. I think we mentioned this a couple months ago, but we were given the whole grant. The next step is to request proposals from vendors that can provide these services. And she also notified the committee that the administration had made minor updates to the curricula for grade 8 science, grade 8 honor science, and technology in grades kindergarten through 4th grade. We'll be voting on these updates tonight. And then we also talked about the New Jersey CAP organization that we discussed in finance. And we approved all professional development and field trip requests. And that's the end of my report. Back to you.
Okay, thank you. So then I would like to request a motion to approve action items number 1 through 5 on the agenda. A motion?
I'll second.
A second. Ms. Cooper, thank you. Is there any discussion?
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Butler, and I'm sorry, I meant to email you, but unfortunate circumstances occurred. So the reason we had the waiver, because my understanding, and there's a certain word I'm not allowed to use, but one of the reasons given for our rankings dropping was placed on the shoulders of these ESL students. And so now I learned that we could have established this years ago and there were waivers. So the reason, is that you or me? Okay. So the reason for the waivers was because we needed time to establish a bilingual self-contained class. Is that why we had waivers or a waiver?
Every 3 years, we develop a bilingual plan. And so that's been done every 3 years since we've been required to do that. In that plan, we have worked toward what we felt we could best accommodate for our students. And while we did not, years ago, do a specific bilingual classroom, we did do a lot of other things that, and this is in consultation with the state and the Department of Education. We've done things like high-intensity ESL classes. We've done 7 cohorts of sheltered instruction so that our teachers outside of a bilingual classroom are well-trained in how to work with ML students. We've really, I think, built an infrastructure that supports those students throughout a building, not just in one classroom. In 2019, when we were getting ready to do another plan, it was discussed, let's start looking into this, because we're kind of at that tipping point, and we feel like this would be an appropriate next step. So I know we all know what happened right after 2019. We had a little delay because of the pandemic, or we might have been here maybe last year. So we're excited to be here now. Mm-hmm.
Doesn't take away from my excitement.
Good.
But as a person, as a child who started school with no English, it stings a little when we're burdened with bringing the rankings down, when there was a solution, because a self-contained bilingual education is the cornerstone of a bilingual education. And what's our high-intensity ESL class? Like, how many minutes a day do ESL students receive ESL instruction?
I'd have to look at the exact minutes. I don't have those. I can get those to you, but I
Okay.
don't have those off of the top of my head. And this, if we were to offer a fully bilingual program, that would be across the board. We're starting here in kindergarten and then first grade.
And
So
you're stopping at second unless the numbers justify it?
We're going to reevaluate.
Okay.
But this is our first step.
I think it's a great first step.
Not our first step, because we've obviously been taking steps, which I think have brought us to the place where I think this will be really effective.
I hope. And now, I don't know, I guess this question is for you, Nicole. There was a parent, I believe, who came a couple of times to discuss the flaws in the special education program. Do we plan on including parents or speaking with parents in order to improve the special ed program?
I can answer that if you'd like.
Okay.
We just had a meeting just this past week. Last week and this week are kind of blurring together a little bit, but it was either late last week or early this week. There was a parent meeting, and there are plans to have another one in another month or so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? No? Okay. And roll call.
Mrs. Wright?
Yeah.
Mr. Baker? Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mrs. DeRocco? Yeah. Ms. Gill?
Yes.
Mr. Boyce?
Yes. Thank you. And now we will move on to the report of personnel. Mr. Grandpre.
So policy and personnel met combined on November 30th for about an hour and a half. All members were in attendance, as well as Dr. Brochel. In regards to personnel, what we can report out on are, we did have a brief discussion around the SHE sidebar agreement, which is up for approval tonight. And we also discussed our fiscal budget wish list in regards to personnel and how we could work to hopefully help to prioritize some of those with the budget as we have our Saturday session and look through what we can fit in. We also reviewed the tentative agreement at that time for all the various action items that we are about to approve.
Okay. Thank you. So then I would like to request a motion to approve action items number 1 through 9 on the agenda. Can I get it? Ms. Tober? And a second, Mr. Grandpre? And discussion. Seeing none? Mr. Markle, roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. And I will give it right back to Mr. Grandpre for policy.
Okay, so that was the more extensive part of our meeting. We did look at all the policies that were in first reading last month, and there were no questions or comments from the committee or any comments from the community that we needed to take into consideration at that point before moving them to second reading. So they are all on the agenda for second reading this evening. We did discuss the Booster Club policy, which we've talked about here for probably just over a year, as well as the student fundraising policy, and they are on our agenda as first readings tonight, which is very exciting. So I did just want to report out for the community some of the updates that are there in case you did not have the time to read them all. So we did have extensive discussions about the currently known booster clubs, those that are officially registered with the high school and those that we know may be swirling around. And we discussed how the changes in the booster club policy would affect those clubs and how we would interact with them in terms of the process of approving anything that they were doing. And our goal here is not to try and hinder anybody. It's really to support booster clubs and to support the community and actually have a little less involvement from the district on the booster club side in terms of what they can do. So those policies are there. The one discussion point we did have is that if booster clubs are looking to seek board approval to help us to promote any of the activities they are doing, we will not be in the process of promoting anything where alcohol or other intoxicants are intended or available or served to participants. We will not co-advertise for those when that is going on. We also discussed how there is the interaction and the differences between the HSAs and booster clubs. The HSAs have their own missions, visions, and values, and the school district does not have any oversight over what the HSAs do. They are completely separate in terms of their funding and their bylaws, and they are there to benefit all students, where booster clubs are set up to benefit a certain group of students, and that's a little bit of a differentiation there. We intend to follow the same guidelines in terms of promoting and approving HSA events, and we are aware, along with that, in terms of we need to be aware, and along with that, if the HSA is raffling anything off that would be considered SHSD related items like parking spots or anything like that for key events that may be occurring in the district, like graduation. We also discussed implementation and how this may be a good time to take a pause as we prove them in the next few months, to have a education session for our coaches and our teams on the changes in the policies so that they are set up and established and understanding and ensuring that they are in alignment with what we are looking to do going forward. And with that, we did have some changes to the student fundraising policy language. So that change, that most significant change in there, was looking at the board prohibiting crowdsourcing for the students to fundraise by, unless specifically approved by the superintendent. That, to clarify, does not mean that booster clubs and parents cannot use crowdsourcing, but that the students themselves would not be directly involved in that process. What else? Oh, we did also have clarification, which I think is probably important for the public in terms of how the funds can be used and timelines for that usage. So when it comes to booster clubs, there really is not a specific timeline because they can carry from year to year within the booster club. But within the funding of the district, the majority of the student activities funds do need to be cleared by the end of our fiscal time, which would be June 30th of that school year, with very few exceptions that were related to things that needed to carry over in terms of licensing, like plays and yearbooks. So that will help people to sort of understand which directions they may want to look at in terms of funding for things that are there. As well as we've discussed many times, we are very much in support of teams and clubs getting the things that the district should be a part of in supporting. So we need to know what those things are if we don't. And I believe that is the majority of what we talked about related to policies and regulations that are in first and second reading.
Excellent, thank you. Then I would like to request a motion to approve action items number 1 and 2 on the agenda. Ms. Nathans in a second, Mr. Baker, and discussion.
agree with that too, and it's easily a year that it came up, and there were concerns that I had early on that we were going to be sort of too much red taping it, and I think this seems like a very clear process for everybody to abide by the guidelines, but also open the doors to all the fundraising efforts that are available, so it's a good outcome.
Just as a clarification point, the the intent of the committee was to deregulate and to really remove the board from as much as was possible. You know, I believe that goal was met. So, yeah.
Anybody else? Yeah, well, I would like to second what everybody has said regarding this policy and the work put in, and I'm thrilled that we arrived at something that I think will work really well for our students, staff, and community. So wonderful. If there's no other discussion, roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, so we are going to enter our second public comments period. At this time, public comments are welcome on any topic. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, but an individual may speak a second time after all others who wish to speak on a topic have been heard, for a total of 2 times at the podium. Please understand that our public forums are not structured as question and answer sessions, but are offered as opportunities to share your thoughts with the board. In instances where the board feels that there is a misunderstanding or inaccuracy, the board president or superintendent may address the comment. In accordance with New Jersey statute, the board will not discuss matters regarding specific personnel. Public comments will be opened. We request that all comments remain respectful. Mr. Marco was already setting up her timer for 3 minutes. She will start it when the person begins speaking. At that 3-minute mark, I will interrupt just to make them aware so that anyone else who would like to speak has an opportunity to approach the podium. And when all other members of the public have had an opportunity, anyone who would like to finish their comments may come back to the podium. So with that, thank you in advance for your input, and public comments are open. Okay, seeing none, can I get a motion to close public comments, please? Ms. Rye, and a second? Mr. Joyce? Okay, thank you. Before we move into supplementary matters, I just wanted to acknowledge that this is our last meeting of the year. And typically at the last meeting of the year, we would recognize any departing board members or, signals and thank those who may be rolling off for their service. We are in a unique position right now. And we are going to be having a recount come Monday. The margins for this election were extraordinarily slim, and I certainly would not want to prematurely bid farewell to anyone. So my suggestion and hope would be whoever sits in the president's seat come reorg, and any other members of the board that feel so inclined speak to those who have either moved on or those who have joined us. So I wanted to note that, and on a note to the entire board at the end of a year, and when we look towards elections and the results of elections, I just think it's a good time to acknowledge the work of all the board members, those that were up for election, those that sit here now, those that will continue to sit here. It's a volunteer position. It is a position of heart. It is a position of dedication. It is one without compensation or recognition. And the people that sit here do so because they care. And I, as in this seat for this last day, would like to thank every member of this board for their dedication and to the role that they serve in this community. So again, when reorg comes, we will make all official statements, but at this time, I think I echo for all of us the appreciation that I have for one another. So with that, we will move into supplementary matters, and I just would like to read that the views and opinions that may be expressed by individual members of the Somerset Hills Board of Education during supplementary matters are solely those of individual board members and do not reflect the views, opinions, policies, regulations, and/or positions of the Somerset Hills Board of Education and any other individual members of the board. And with that, anyone have a matter for supplementary matters?
Sam, I just want to make a comment. Listening to Dr. Brochel's 100 days, Dr. B, I have to say that this district is so lucky to have you at the helm. In just 4 short months in this role, I feel that you've achieved more, you've connected with the community more, and inspired those around you more than had been done in the past 4 years, and probably even further back than that. You really are a welcome breath of fresh air, and I'm really excited to see all the great things that are in store for both the students and the staff of SHSD under your amazing leadership. So thank you so much for everything that you've done this year for us, and I really think this is saying the next step forward.
Anything else for supplementary matters?
Yeah, I would like to say something. So Sam, I want to thank you for your service as president. This is a tough role. And this year was no different than the recent past. There were a lot of tough situations that you've navigated, and you've done it with grace, dignity, and diplomacy. It's a role that requires time, a lot of hard work and patience, and you have exemplified all of that. So I just want to take a moment to thank you for that. It's also a role where for most people there's a learning curve, but I have to say for you it was non-existent because of the way that you have served on this board even before that role. You have absorbed board governance, you have taken probably more training in your you've been here 4 years because you had that, 4 years than a lot of us combined. You have embraced every aspect of being a board member, and you have done the same as a president. You have served this community long before you ever became a board member too. So we are fortunate to have your leadership. I appreciate all the work you have put in and everything you have done to guide us through a lot of big decisions this year, including the hiring of Dr. Brochel. So thank you very much for your service and everything you've done.
As I said before, I think we're lucky to have each other. I think we're lucky to have the dedication that sits at this table. I think we're lucky to have the administrative leadership that we have in Dr. Brochel, Dr. Butler, Mrs. DeMarco. I think that we're a very fortunate district. We're in a good place.
We are.
Is there anybody else? No. Okay. Then I would like to request a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn to next month.
Okay.
Everybody enjoy the holidays.
Yes. Enjoy the
And a
holidays.
second, please.
I'll get a second.
And an all in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you for coming.